You know, Harry Nilsson wrote a terrific song which became a big hit for Three Dog Night. And the lyrics go, "One is the loneliest number." And that got me thinking about acts that have had one hit wonders. Now, having one hit is a great thing, but I'm sure for the bands it's frustrating that, boy, you've scaled to the top and you never quite get there again. And in the decades of classic rock, there were lots of one-hit wonders. So what I've decided to do is maybe create a little mini series in here where we'll take a decade and we'll look at some of the one-hit wonders from that decade. Now, my criteria in choosing a one-hit wonder is the bands may have recorded albums after that big single. They may have done lots of records, but they never ever cracked the top 10 again. They only had one song that charted in the top 10. That makes them a one-hit wonder. Now, in this episode, we're going to look at one-hit wonders from the 1960s. And I got to admit, these songs are seared into my memory. Just thinking about them, I could start to sing them now, badly. But don't worry, I won't. So let's go back to the 1960s. Let's drop the needle on one-hit wonders. After getting a recording contract with Motown Records and releasing a couple of records, they had no success until the Contours recorded a song that was written by the owner of Motown Records, Berry Gordy, and it became a hit again in 1964 for the Dave Clark Five. And any up-and-coming rock band had to learn to play this song for the teen dances, because it was always a big hit. And I remember the spoken introduction. "You broke my heart, 'cause I couldn't dance. You didn't even want me around. And now I'm back to let you know I can really shake 'em down." Yes, the song is "Do You Love Me?" And it was a hit for the Contours, going to number 3 on Billboard's chart. Unfortunately, the Contours could never once again climb to the top of the charts, but they continued to perform until 2022. And also in 1962, a very talented voiceover artist who did impressions decided to copy a couple of his idols, Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, and put together a band that he called the Crypt Kicker Five. And that band actually included Leon Russell playing on piano. The song that was recorded quickly shot up to number 1 and has become now a staple played every Halloween. The artist was Robert George Pickett, but you know him as Bobby Boris Pickett. And of course the song is Monster Mash. He tried to follow that up with a Monster Holiday, which was a Christmas song, but it never really caught on. He had a successful career appearing on television in Petticoat Junction and in movies such as It's a Bikini World and Lobster Man from Mars. Bobby Pickett died at the age of 69 in 2007. In 1963, surf music was the rage, and certainly the Beach Boys were leading that charge out in Southern California. But they inspired a number of other bands to catch a wave and get on board with the surf music. And there was one group called the Chantays. And what's interesting about their one-hit wonder is it was an instrumental. And again, any up-and-coming band had to learn how to play it. And we did. And it's called Pipeline. The song reached number 4 on Billboard's charts. To capitalize on the success of the song, the band went on tour, and they happened to be the only rock band that ever appeared on the very popular Lawrence Welk TV show. And 2 of the original members continue to tour today. Also in 1963, also in Southern California, another band comes out with another surfing song that is also an instrumental. And it's also a one-hit wonder, and it goes to number 2 on the charts. And the band was called the Safaris. Now, the song that they recorded was kind of a tough one for young bands to play because it required a drum solo. And I remember in the darkness when our drummer, Brad Gardner, came in and he said, "I got it." And he played it for us. And he did. So we had to learn how to play Wipeout. The Safaris followed this up with Surfer Joe and Point Panic, but neither one could match Wipeout. Original member Bob Berryhill continues to tour with a band of musicians today. In 1965, there was a band that came out of Memphis, Tennessee with 7 members, and they got a recording contract, and they got really popular in the Tennessee area, and they recorded a song called Sometimes, but it didn't really go anywhere. But it was their second song that really took off. And the band is called the Gentrys, and the song is Keep On Dancin'. The success of this song led the band to appear on Shindig, Hullabaloo, and Where the Action Is. And they even recorded a version of Neil Young's Cinnamon Girl, but it didn't really catch off, and within 2 years of Keep On Dancing, they had disbanded. But in 1969, they regrouped and toured and recorded, but nothing really caught fire. Our next one-hit wonder comes from Michigan, and the lead singer actually claimed that he came from Mars, and his real name was Rudy Martinez, but he quickly became known as Question Mark, and the band was the Mysterians, and their one-hit wonder, of course, it's 96 Tears. After the success of 96 Tears, they toured and continued to record, but like so many bands of the period, they broke up, and then they regrouped, and they continued on the road until 2006. Next, we had the Swamps of Louisiana, where there is a young sportsman who's very good at basketball and baseball. And he forms a band, and in fact, Dick Clark invites them to play on American Bandstand. But the band leader refuses because he has a basketball game. The avid sportsman was John Fred, and the group was called John Fred and the Playboys. Now, when I did an episode on Gary Lewis and the Playboys, one of you guys asked me if they were somehow related to John Fred and his Playboy band. Not as far as I can tell. And in fact, to avoid confusion, John Fred and his Playboys changed their name to John Fred and his Playboy band. Inspired by the Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Fred records Judy in Disguise with Glasses. Now, Judy in Disguise with Glasses, as we said, was inspired by the Beatles, and when it was released, it soared to number 1. And guess who it knocked out of the number 1 spot? Yeah, the Beatles, and Hello Goodbye. Judy in Disguise with Glasses was looked at as a novelty record, and John Fred could never recapture that magic. So he went back to Baton Rouge, where he actually coached high school baseball and basketball. Our next one-hit wonder comes out of North London. They were formed in 1963, and by 1964, they had their number 1 hit. And they were unique because they had a female drummer, which was really rare at that time. And her name was Honey Lantry, and the band was called the Honeycombs. And their one-hit wonder was Have I the Right? I remember seeing them on TV with their jangling guitars, their pounding drums, and then to add even more percussion, all of the members would stomp their feet on the stage. They could never replace this hit, and the Honeycombs disbanded in 1967. Our last one-hit wonder group from the 60s comes out of the UK as well, and this one was put together by Pete Townsend of The Who, because he was impressed that one of their roadies was a songwriter. In fact, he was so impressed that Pete took one of his songs, and The Who recorded it on their album, The Who Sell Out, Armenia's City in the Sky. And the songwriter was John Speedy King. So Townsend put him together with a guitarist, Jimmy McCullough, and Andy Thunderclap Newman. And they created a group called Thunderclap Newman. And their one hit was Something in the Air. The song was originally called Revolution, but they had to change the title because the Beatles came out with a song called Revolution. In 1970, Thunderclap Newman came out with an album called Hollywood Dream, and just as they were to go on tour to support that album, they disbanded. Speedy King recorded some solo work, but nothing caught fire. He turned to producing other acts, and then in 1977, he left the music business. He died in 2002 at the age of 56. Jimmy McCullough played in a number of bands, including Paul McCartney's Wings. Sadly, he died at the age of 26 from heroin. And Andy Thunderclap Newman created the Thunderclap Newman Band, and they toured the UK and even appeared at the Isle of Wight Festival in 2012, after which they disbanded, and Andy Newman died at 73 in 2016. So there you have it, some of the one-hit wonders from the 1960s. Now, maybe in future episodes I'll look at more from that decade, or maybe I'll go to the 70s, or perhaps even the 50s, or the 80s, who knows. Now, as usual, I've created a Spotify playlist where you can listen to some of the songs that I talk about in this episode, and here's the link for that. One-hit wonders always capture the imagination of the audience, and they stay with you for many years after. Thanks for watching, and as the Gentrys say, keep on dancing. And of course, as I say, keep a rockin'. If you like this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.